Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Politically Correct. I'm DK Singh. The question we are addressing today is, why do our politicians love maligning India Inc.? You know what I'm talking about. Last Saturday, industrialist Rahul Bajaj, at an Economic Times event in Mumbai, he created a flutter saying that during the UPA government, he or the India Inc. could criticize anybody. But this government is doing very well, but they cannot criticize because they know it will not be appreciated. It created a big flutter in the industry, in the political circles. Everyone is talking about it. What has made it worse is the reaction of some senior ministers of the government. Nirmala Sitharaman, our finance minister, for instance, she tweeted basically saying or suggesting that how Bajaj's comment hurt national interest. We have our Housing and Urban Affairs Minister, Hardeep Singh Puri. He talked about the weaving of fake narratives and hurling invectives. They are talking about Rahul Bajaj's comment. Then you have BJP's social media in charge, Amit Malviya. Amit Malviya has gone a step further. What he is saying is, truth be told, industrialists who flourished in the license Raj will always be beholden to the Congress. And then he is making a lot of other allegations against Rahul Bajaj. I don't know whether they're making all these allegations after getting clearance from the party leadership or somebody in the government. But hearing the finance minister of the country attacking a very well-respected industrialist such as Rahul Bajaj comes as a big shock. I'm sure the Prime Minister did not approve of it. If it did, it's a big shocker. And if these ministers are, speaking on their own without any instructions, it's very unfortunate. Because when Rahul Bajaj raised that issue at the ET summit, Home Minister Amit Shah had handled it very well. I mean, he had said, "Kisi ko zarurat nahi hai darne ki." Nobody needs to be afraid, or nobody needs to be afraid or scared. But after that, from next day onwards, you see all these BJP leaders attacking Rahul Bajaj. Well, it's not just the BJP. If you look at the Congress Party's Rahul Gandhi, he has been attacking industrialists as well. I mean, he has been talking about the fugitive businessmen like, say, Nirav Modi, Lalit Modi, Vijay Mallya, and he has been painting the entire industry with the same brush. He was the one who installed bauxite mining project by Vedanta in Niyamgiri. His entire political narrative has been that he stands for the poor, though he does not say that clearly, but against the rich. He means that. It's not just Rahul Gandhi. Leaders across the political spectrum. You have Pradeep Yadav of Jharkhand Vikas Morcha. He was a candidate of the opposition front in Godda in Jharkhand. And his USP was that he had launched agitations against an Adani power plant in Godda. And on that basis, he was seeking ticket. Congress was pretty strong on that side, but Congress gave that ticket to the JVM person, that is Pradeep Yadav, because he was supposed to have become very popular through his agitation. Well, the Lok Sabha results said it all. He lost to Nishikant Dubey. But somehow this has been a narrative of our political class. I don't know whether it's the influence of the socialist mindset of our political class in the past, which hasn't changed. We have entered the reforms era since 90s. But the politics has remained there. We love slamming the rich. If you look at if you do some fact check, it hits in your face. Now I was looking at this PhD research paper by the PhD Chambers of Commerce and Industry on the jobs available today. Like in the past 5 years, the study talked about how, about 60% of the jobs which have been created came from the private sector. From the government, it's just about 20%. Government is no less concerned about the lack of private investment. Now today, when your GDP is falling to 4.5% in the second quarter, it's because of total public investment. Private sector is not there. And you know how important a role important role the private sector plays in, or the kind of contributions they make to the economy. But for politicians, that's not a reality. They go by impressions. And if I could just give them some statistics, I mean, I have got a few. This rich versus poor debate, where general impression is that India is predominantly poor, and so you can talk about, we can talk against the rich and probably gain their sympathy. But that's not a reality. You have a large aspirational class coming up, and numerically they're pretty big, something that our politicians don't seem to be aware of. For instance, let me quote one study. This is a study by economists Sandhya Krishnan and Neeraj Hatika, Rise of the Middle Class in India and its Changing Structure. It got published in Economic and Political Weekly in June 2017. Now, their study says the middle class in India, and they define middle class as people whose per capita per day spending was between $2 and $10. And they say that the middle class in India remained largely stable between 1999, 2000 and 2004 to 2005. But their size doubled between 2004-05 and 2011-12 to 604.3 million, that is 60 crores. So in 10 years, no, not even 10 years, in 7 years, the middle class size has grown from 30 crores to 60 crores. But obviously, our political class is not aware of that, aware of these details, or they don't want to be basically confronting some new challenges, because this is traditionally a win-win kind of a political strategy, they think. Sympathize with the poor, slam the rich, and you win elections. I'm sorry, it doesn't happen anymore. But now I would like to fill some questions which have been sent to me by our viewers.
Hi, this is Anita from Delhi. My question is Modi a friend of the corporates?
It depends how we look at it. If you ask the opposition, when they say Modi is a friend of the corporates, what they mean is, this government was responsible for Nirav Modi or Vijay Mallya fleeing the country. That's the opposition narrative. But in a positive sense, yes, Modi has been a friend of the corporates. The investment conclaves Gujarat had, and the way Gujarat progressed, the private sector played a big role in it. And Narendra Modi actually used their entrepreneurship to basically take Gujarat to the level it is today. But where it changed, and if you remember, even before he became the BJP's prime ministerial candidate, he had a big support from India Inc. I'll quote a report about what they thought about Modi when he was Gujarat Chief Minister. Now, I'm quoting from a Business Standard report published in September 2013. Now, it is saying, telecom czar Sunil Mittal found him fit for the job way back in January 2009. He is running a state and can also run the nation. That was Sunil Mittal in January 2009. In January 2013, you had Anil Ambani calling Modi Lord of Men, leader amongst leaders, and king amongst king. Anand Mahindra said, the day is not far when people will talk about the Gujarat model of growth in China. Then there was a survey in the published in the Economic Times. I don't really recall who had commissioned it. But as per that survey, 80% of the India Inc. favored Modi as the Prime Minister of the country. That was in 2013. Today, what we see from these ministers, from the ministers in Modi government, may come as a shock to you. But there was a slight change. The way Modi government started responding to the allegations, and if I may trace it for you, it could be somewhere in January 2015, when then US President Barack Obama was here, and all of us remember that, that picture of Modi wearing an embroidered coat with his name written all over it. And that's when Rahul Gandhi picked it up and he started mocking at him, calling him Soot Boot Ki Sarkar, or calling his government Soot Boot Ki Sarkar. I think that's where probably Prime Minister himself and his government became a bit conscious of its image. Because that was around the time, or after a few months after that, Modi government was working on a very ambitious land acquisition bill, which would have actually eased the acquisition of land for industries. Because you needed infrastructure growth, you needed private sector to get into infrastructure, and because of the cumbersome acquisition process, it was getting difficult. So it was one of the major reforms Modi government started. But then this Soot Boot Ki Sarkar, that jive started sinking in, and then Bihar elections were coming later in that year. And then we saw Modi government first promulgating an ordinance to implement that bill. It re-promulgated it at least thrice, but finally abandoned it because elections were around the corner, and there was this growing sense in the BJP leadership or in the government that it could be counterproductive because farmers were not happy. I think that was the time this government might have lost its zeal, in the sense that the initial push, the boldness with which the government was trying to implement reforms, went missing from then onwards. And over the next 2-3 years, we saw the government talking about the poor, the middle aspirational class was totally missing in the BJP narrative and in Modi's speeches. And somewhere in early 2018, suddenly you started seeing him talking about the middle class. They realized that the middle class was getting disenchanted, and this poor narrative wasn't really paying the electoral dividends it should have, though the BJP was winning one election after another. But the sense was that middle class was a bit disillusioned. It was just Modi way which was carrying them home, but it was getting more complicated. So last year, sometime in July, you suddenly saw the Prime Minister acknowledging that the industries play as good a role in nation making as farmers or laborers or anybody else. So that course correction happened then. There has been an attempt to engage industrialists, but the way you would wish is probably not there. I mean, when you see our foreign dignitaries and some, foreign heads of state and government, when they come to India, they have a large delegation of CEOs and business tycoons. They are all coming here to further their business interest here. But when you see our Prime Minister going abroad, I mean, nobody wants to talk about the industrialists who went with him, if at all they went, because I have been asking through RTI queries if any industrialist went with the Prime Minister on his foreign trips. Haven't got any reply. And the PMO chose not to respond to those RTIs or skirted it. So somehow the government is very conscious of its image, even now, though the Prime Minister, as I said, has been trying to course correct, has been trying to change that image. But still, there is a lot of diffidence in this government.
Hi, I'm Ajay Kathuria, and I wanted to ask, what do politicians gain by maligning corporates?
Well, I would say it's an excuse to basically make up for their incompetence. There's a total lack of imagination. Their politics, as it is, has been the same for the last 50, 70 years. Their politics has not changed. So you don't have anybody to blame for your own follies, for your own failures. So slam the rich, slam the industrialists, and you want the people to think, well, they are the ones who are responsible for your plight. We are doing a good job. But again, you ask these politicians, what you yourself have done in terms of promoting investment, in terms of boosting your economy. As policymakers, as lawmakers, what have you done? And they'll be fumbling for words. Again, coming back to Rahul Gandhi, how would Rahul Gandhi explain how he goes all over the country in chartered flights? Who pays for it? If it is a party, well, where does the party get the donation from? for all his foreign junkets, who pays? If you look at his affidavit that he submitted to the Election Commission while he was contesting from Wayanad in 2019 Lok Sabha elections, his total worth of his movable and immovable assets is just about 15 crores, of which about 9 crores is immovable. Even among movable assets, you talk about cash stashed in some bank, it's just about 15 lakhs. Can you imagine somebody going around the world week after week, month after month with that kind of cash? So how does Rahul Gandhi justify all these expenses, and where is he getting the money from? Well, obviously party is paying for the chartered flights and all that, but as I said, can we talk about the sources? So it's very easy to blame industrialists, and if Rahul Gandhi does not have any alternative politics to counter BJP's politics or to counter Modi's personality cult, there is nothing new he is talking about. So it's very easy to say, okay, you link him with Nirav Modi, you link him with Lalit Modi, you link the PM with Vijay Mallya, and then you expect the people to believe you. Unfortunately for him, it's not happening. Well, as for the BJP, I mean the same question if you talk about the BJP, as I said, I'm surprised. Probably they are not used to criticism, and the moment it comes from somebody like Rahul Bajaj, even ministers lose their sense of proportion. And again, as I said, I don't know whether there were any instructions from the top.
Hi, this is Abhinav Jaiswal. Do industrialists have affiliations to political parties?
Not really. Yes, you can say that they may have affiliations with the party in power because they need the government support. But if you look at the basically electoral bonds or the donations that they have been making to different parties, I mean, every industrialist makes donations to every party. I mean, some party is in power, probably will get that party will get more. Some party is in opposition, it will get less. But all industrialists, I mean, whoever go for donations, are conscious, or at least are seen to be conscious of the fact that today this party is in power, tomorrow that party will be in power. And it's not their fault. I mean, they have to engage with everybody. Well, there may be instances in the past, for instance, in 2012 presidential elections, for instance, there was this huge rumor about some industrialists playing a role in favor of somebody, but these things happen. Well, before I wind up, I'll just tell you my conversation with the former Haryana Chief Minister Bhupender Singh Hooda today. I mean, we were on a morning walk together, and I broached this subject of ministers slamming Rahul Bajaj, and then his first reaction was, "They are stupid." I said, how did the industrialists contribute to your state when you were the Chief Minister? He was Chief Minister of Haryana for 10 years. And then he said, well, if you recall, Haryana was #1 in per capita income in 2014 across the country. And Bhupender Hooda, as he said, and I have to thank the private sector for all that. And then he started giving instances, Nehruji never went after industrialists. Indira Gandhi never went after them. Even Rajiv Gandhi didn't, though there were certain instances where some industrial houses had some grouse. But that he didn't say, that I am adding, of course. But obviously, the congressmen, even veteran Congress leaders, are pretty convinced of the role the private sector plays in shaping our economy. And mind you, Hooda did not talk about Rahul Gandhi, probably because Rahul Gandhi has never been a prime minister. But if you ask me, the reason for Rahul Gandhi's views, I would attribute it to the company he keeps. Most of them are leftists. I'll end it here. Thank you very much for watching, and please keep sending us feedback and questions.